Classic Doom mods are fantastic, and you need to play them. Hell, more often than not, they are so well put together and contain enough original assets that they more or less qualify as their own games. Now, if you're someone who's looking for a detailed explanation on how to mod the OG Doom games, you're not gonna find that here. This video is simply an overview on the Doom modding scene, and small mini-reviews of mods I found interesting. While I do make it a point to cover some of the more simplistic mods, this video is in large part focused on the larger scale projects in the modding scene, aka total conversion mods. Fear not though, if you were hoping for a modding tutorial, here's a real short and incomplete one, which is chock full of terminology I won't explain until later in the video. Step 1. Download the PK3 or WAD file you want to play. Step 2. No, I'm not showing you that one. Click off the video.
Let's fucking go!
Step 3. Plop that file into your source port of choice. Step 4. Drag and drop. Back on topic, in case you're a new viewer on this channel, this video is a sequel to my review on the original Doom game. If there was something you guys were all keen on telling me over and over and over again, it was that I should delve into the world of classic Doom mods. And it's actually a topic I've been considering tackling for a few years now. And oddly enough, I can actually recall the first time I was introduced to Doom modifications. A Did You Know gaming video on the first Doom game, narrated by the one and only Markiplier.
Did you know I will start an OnlyFans if you meet my conditions?
And with such a tantalizing first impression, why waste any more of your time? Let's dive into the world of Doom mods. But first I gotta learn how to mod the game. The first thing you'll need to get started on your journey into Doom modding is a source port. Now, what is a source port, you may be asking? Well, I mean, it literally says it in the title, but if you'd like a little bit more detail, the source code for id Software's engine was released in late December 1997. Now, interestingly, despite the original Doom game releasing on DOS, it was actually programmed, at least initially, on the Linux platform, and then had to be ported over to the new operating system. And given the game's ridiculous success, once again, was installed on more computers than Microsoft Windows at one point.
First, Windows 95 is the game platform.
Whoa! It was safe to say that creating ports of the game for other platforms was a necessity. With Doom 2 coming shortly after, it was originally intended to assist with cross-compatibility, but to no one's surprise, the fanbase went to work fiddling with the source code. Some of the most early modifications were simple bug fixes for issues discovered long ago, and yet did not receive any kind of fix. To be fair, it was the early 90s, but it's nice to see that even during gaming's early years, the fanbase was still proving to be more capable than the original creators when it came to patching pre-existing bugs. In essence, a source port is simply taking the Doom games and their engines and making them playable on a platform it was originally unavailable on. The term isn't even only applicable to fans creating their own ports of the game. It also applies to a larger corporate entity like Bethesda or id Software making new versions of the game which are compatible with modern systems. As a matter of fact, the version of Doom 1 I used to review the game a few months back was actually the most modern, officially endorsed source port. But there have been an absolute fuck ton of Doom releases over the years. Many of you in the comments on my Doom review were keen to point out a few of these official source ports, the most commonly mentioned being the Super Nintendo version and the PlayStation 1 version of the game. Apparently the PS1 Doom removes most of the music and transforms the badass atmosphere into the game and turns it into something different. Not quite survival horror, but still much more frightening than the usual ripping and tearing. And the Super Nintendo version is just a bad way to play Doom. Way lower resolution, horrible texture quality, and the game's many MIDI tracks have been compressed to hell and back. But you know, it could be worse. You could be playing it on the Game Boy Advanced. Or the 3DO. Or the Atari Jaguar. Actually, this one ended up being okay. But the fan-made source ports are where the true quality is at. Mostly because The Doom community has had this weird little trend of putting this piece of software onto literally anything in existence. Graphing calculators, smartphones, and an actual pregnancy test. My god. It's just like what Sun Tzu said. If I take all the sweat from my body and put it in water, am I salting the water? And in that case, if I'm sitting in the pot to distribute the sweat, am I pasta? I don't think he said that. But yeah, if it has the capability, you will see Doom on it. Anyway, obviously we're going to be using a PC, like a normal person, to play these mods. Now, there are more than a few options when it comes to your choice of source port, and when I say a few options, I actually mean a metric fuck ton. Holy god, there is no way I can cover all of these. Now, to my understanding, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but most of these ports seem to be specialized in a particular field. Some prioritize authenticity of the original release, such as Chocolate Doom, while others specialize in graphical improvements and overall quality of life features, like GZ Doom. Better customization for modern PC, graphical settings, resolution tweaks, on top of a whole bunch of other stuff. Oh yeah, by the way, we're going to be using GZ Doom for this video. Not only is it very easy to set up, it also seems to be one of the most popular options available, so... Now, I'm going to try and keep this section short to respect your time, because in this day and age, I'm sure I don't have to explain to you what a mod is, especially when placed in the context of a video titled Doom Mods Are Cool, or whatever I actually ended up titling it. But I'm going to do it anyway, and you can't stop me. Modding video games on PC is actually a fairly easy process. Being extremely tech-savvy is usually never needed. So long as you can recognize these two icons on screen, you've got all the experience needed to mod the vast majority of games. Making use of community-made modifications for the classic Doom titles isn't any different. All you need to do is watch maybe 1 or 2 good YouTube tutorials and you'll be fine. Case in point, me! Yeah, that joke at the beginning of the video with me looking up how to mod the game, that wasn't a joke, it was something I actually had to do here. Speaking of which, after you guys finish this video, I want you to head on over to Icarus Live's YouTube channel and give him a good old slap on the subscribe button. Not only does he produce some excellent Doom modding videos, he's one of the major resources I used to find mods to discuss for this video. But yeah, with a little finicking, you'll be playing all the Doom mods, that's the classic file naming format the first couple of games used, and boy howdy, there sure are a lot of them. Seriously, Doom 1 and 2 has one of the largest catalog of community-made mods in all of gaming. And rightfully so, the game is almost 30 years old. The modding community has a few categories that their mods can fall into. You have simple level packs with custom enemy spawns and level designs, sitting right next to mods that simply add in more weapons or alter the existing graphics. And this scale continues to go higher and higher until you reach total conversion mods, which completely transform the game into something brand new. Yep, your mind isn't playing tricks on you. This is still running inside the GZ Doom engine, but we'll get more into this particular mod later in the video. So here's how this is going to go for any of the mods covered in this video. These mini reviews are my initial thoughts after playing each one for around an hour and a half, give or take a few extra minutes in a few mods. So sadly, I'm not able to give these mods the true deep dive most of them deserve, because they're all phenomenal. I don't know if you've heard me say that already. So if any of these mods covered seem interesting to you, I highly suggest downloading them. Alright, everyone got that? Cool, let's get into it. This mod was created by Jamie Bainbridge, otherwise known as Super Jamie, and John Vale, or 20 Ounce, in 2010. Though the development history actually extends even further back, as the concept which would later become UAC Ultra was worked on in 2008 by Jamie alone. But after 4 test levels, Jamie scrapped the project, unsatisfied with the results. That was until Jamie met another Doom creator, John Vale, and the two of them discussed the idea of creating maps which made use of new texture sets. In fact, both of them found out that they were both interested in using texture sets from the game Quake, another id Software classic.
Hear that? I'm a penis.
From there, the pair started up development in early 2009, leading us to where we are now, a guy making a mini review of a mod officially released when he was 7 years old. Yeah, so you know how in the other video I said I felt old? Yeah, this makes me feel young. I decided to include this mod in the video because it represents what I consider to be a fairly simple, yet passion-filled gaming experience. These developers are clearly devoted Doom fans with a love and understanding of what makes these games so endearing to audiences. And they teamed up to craft a custom Doom experience for fans looking for a bit more retro demon killing. Sure, it might not be as impressive as taking the basic framework of Doom and altering it until it scarcely resembles the source material, but that doesn't mean it's not worth discussing. In fact, I find it wholesome in a way, which is funny because this is a game where you do this on a repeated basis. As a mod for Doom 2, UAC Ultra contains many of the same weapons and demons found in the base experience, though Jamie and John made small alterations to the weapon view models. Nothing crazy, but the effort is appreciated. But that pales in comparison to the 2 new monsters they created for this project. Seriously, I know I made it a point to call this mod a simple map pack for Doom 2, but come on! How can you guys not respect the effort of creating an entirely new enemy to fight in the game? Too bad I never got to see them myself. I'll get into the reason why later, but I just want it to be known, the tremendous amount of dedication and talent on display with these 2 new demons, it's amazing. I just wish I wasn't such a weak small goofy guy who's too much of a bitch to get past difficulty spikes. While there isn't anything as impressive as the 2 custom demons found in this mod, I would be beating myself up if I didn't compliment this mod's use of environmental storytelling. Something as simple as a sign flashing warnings of radioactivity, letting the staff know that there's a quarantine in effect. It all goes a long way when it comes to the immersion value. Honestly, I'd say it goes a step above the first game, where the only story segments you were given came from the ending text scrolls in between episodes, or maybe a few bodies sprawled about. Obviously not bad, and for its time, it might as well have been amazing. But I mean, UAC Ultra has doors that'll only switch open once both panels have been activated. So this is the better game. Also, the new textures are a nice change of pace from the typical Doom walls, and they certainly add to the dark and violent atmosphere the mod creates. Something about it almost seems more visceral than the original game. Though, and this isn't unusual for me, I can't completely explain why. It might have something to do with the obvious Quake influences, dark browns and grays. It makes the gruesome violence stand out wonderfully. And while the atmosphere might give off a hopeless, oppressive atmosphere, the gameplay is fast and fluid. Moving from corridor to corridor, unloading round after round into demons is just as satisfying as ever. Though the difficulty assumes you're familiar with the primary experience. Although, if you've gone through the effort of downloading a source port and locating this PK3, I think that's a more than reasonable assumption. On level 1, you're given a shotgun in the first room, and after stepping out into the stunning vista before you, seriously, this backdrop was so nice, I even made it my desktop background for a couple days. You're assaulted by 2 pinkies. Yep, this mod isn't holding back, and good God does it feel good. At first. Yep, I am almost hesitant to bring this point up because it's essentially admitting that I have the gaming skills of an IGN journalist.
Is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen.
But damn, can this mod be difficult at times. Mostly in a fun, makes me want to try again kind of way, but this fucking archvile. Oh! Once again, I'm probably just garbage at the game, but this first encounter with the Archvile was absolutely infuriating. Like, aside from the cool introduction, watching the guy teleport in before fighting him, this shit made me angry! Death after death after death. Like, I'm not even exactly sure what I could have done differently. And his little fire column attacks do so much damage, and all I can do is circle strafe and throw fucking BBs at this guy. So you know what I did? I rage quit. I regret this, and I also regret publicly admitting it, but yeah. And before you guys say it, I was playing on Hurt Me Plenty, alright? I am a member of the I Only Play Games on Normal club. Whew. Anyway, yeah, good mod, you should play it.
Is it something like ice burns as hot as fire?
So, I'm about to compare this mod to UAC Ultra a lot in order to, put up a comparison on the levels of effort on display, but despite my comparisons, they are not made by the same author, and I am in no way trying to belittle the dedication put into UAC Ultra, but I do like Winter's Fury more. Developed by Pyro Scourge and released in 2012, Winter's Fury is a partial conversion of Doom 2, replacing the demonic and hellish environments for an undying cold. Speaking of which, oh my god, I love a good snowy setting. Which is funny, because ice physics make me want to jump into a frozen pond.
And my new band is called...
When describing UAC Ultra, I referred to it as a standard mod, making use of most of the same assets as the base game, with a few new additions sprinkled in here and there, but all in all, it's simply another map to shoot through to satisfy the itch for some classic Doom. Winter's Fury is what I consider to be the logical next step. Take a few new textures for the environment, and amplify it to completely brand new ones. Ice and snow, frozen metal and lakes. It's a nice change of pace from the bloody walls and browns and grays of the original games. And don't get me wrong on this, there is still plenty of blood. And take a few new mechanics, put in for immersion, and add in more of them. While we're at it, take the decently fleshed out backstory in UAC Ultra and turn it into an integral part of the experience. Pyro Scourge made something truly special here. A fact that is made obvious as soon as you open up the game. An opening cinematic plays out, effectively cluing the player into the world of the mod. And it's not exclusive to the opening either. Peppered throughout the campaign, you'll come across quite a few cinematics. And sure, most of the characters in these cutscenes are simple recolors of the Marines, including our protagonist, by the way. Oops. And I'm sure someone with no interest in retro shooters won't be impressed by this at all, but the original Doom games had nothing like this, so by virtue alone, it's incredibly impressive. Not to mention that it takes a pretty hefty amount of work to write a story, and even longer if you want to include constant dialogue, which, for the record, this mod does quite often. Progressing past a certain point in a mission or triggering a specific event will usually give you a bit of dialogue from a main man, Sergeant Morse. It's obvious that the narrative is a key part of the mod, and I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't at least provide a base summary of the events. After the demon
Baphomet
was defeated back on Earth, the UAC relocated his body to Siberia, where they placed its corpse into a device known as the Aurora Vault, and buried the demon leader in the vault deep underneath the snow and ice. The demons, however, did not disappear with the death of their leadership. Packs of the demonic horde roamed the land, terrorizing the people still. Demons en masse started to approach
Baphomet's
tomb in Siberia. Realizing the danger, the UAC forms tactical demon killer squads to neutralize any demonic threat they may encounter and secure the burial site. And since this is a Doom game, you can probably guess what happens next. The story isn't anything completely unique and amazing, but it gets the job done and provides a fairly interesting setup. Though even when Doom gets super lore intensive, no matter how well written and engaging the writing is, the main reason we play Doom doesn't change. Let's kill some shit. Now, you might be wondering why I just showed a couple clips of Doom Eternal gameplay. And that's because this game reminds me of this mod in more ways than one. Obviously, they're both Doom products with heaps of lore and a focus on more cinematic storytelling, but they also play far more similarly than one would think. The gameplay is hectic, throwing overwhelming numbers and demons that can punch harder and take more damage than you can. Tackling these encounters is a dance of running around like a chicken with its head cut off, analyzing the demons you're dealing with, and gradually whittling away the horde by prioritizing specific enemies, as well as hoping to God you don't run out of ammo before you can kill them. This happened to me more times than I can count. The gameplay, just like Doom Eternal for that matter, can sometimes feel a bit cheap. And while I am by my own admission a bitch when it comes to difficulty in my games, I could not stop playing this mod. Something about the difficulty progression and the utterly insane spikes in difficulty was extremely addicting. Every death was simply another reason to hop back in and pop a cap in that fucking Ice Knight's face. Oh! But this mod does have a few cheap shots. Sometimes monsters will spawn in an area you've already cleared without warning and hit you in the back when your guard is down, or you'll be body blocked and unable to run as an ice pinky eats you alive, or this fucking ice pond trap. Guess what? This almost made me rage quit for a second time. I know, once again, bitch. And like I alluded to in the opening paragraph for this chapter, the mod includes a whole heap of new content to go through. For starters, all the weapons have been redone in both big and small ways. Each one has been given a wonderfully new animated sprite, and honestly, I love them all. Though the double-barreled shotgun looks a bit off to me, it kinda reminds me of the one in Duke Nukem 3D.
I'm here to intercourse your dad.
But the true showstopper when it comes to the new stuff in this package are the new demon and world textures. The familiar demonic entities we all know and love have been given a makeover to fit the ice aesthetic. Their bodies are pale, ice clings to their body in jagged spikes. And my favorite addition, they have blue eyes now! Yeah, I know these are very simple recolors once again, but I don't know, I like them a lot, leave me alone! And like every mod in this video, I was only able to play 3 or 4 levels, but my god, I was actually glued to my screen, and I'm definitely returning to this title once I finish making this video. Alright, it's taken us a while, ladies and gentlemen, but here we are, the very first Doom mod I've ever seen, narrated by the wonderful voice of Markiplier.
My OnlyFans is now available through the link in the description below.
Brutal Doom is an overhaul of the first 2 Doom games that even got recognition by John Carmack. Developed by a guy going by the name of Sergeant Mark IV, this mod sets out to make the original Doom games, well, brutal.
He said it! He said it!
The level design remains largely intact, give or take a few altered or added enemy spawns. And holy moly did he succeed! This mod is first and foremost a gore mod. My god, I sound like a psycho saying shit like this. But it's true, and it's amazing. While it might seem weird to plop this mod towards the end of the video when the progression has been simple mod, slightly more complex, and so on and so forth, well, that's because despite being a repackaged way to revisit the first 2 Doom games, I find that it does not play that way at all. This mod is, say it with me now, a frantic, gory, and incredibly fun first-person shooting experience. I actually don't even know where to start, really. Oh my god, I just really enjoyed my time with Brutal Doom. So much so, it's actually kind of hard to properly explain why. Though these videos are more or less slightly organized ramblings, therefore I guess I'll give it a shot. Let's start with the weapons. They've all received an updated look, including much more intricate designs that still manage to retain a bit of the classic Doom model's charm. Although the pistol does have this weird quirk. From the view model, it looks exactly like the base game's handgun, but when you use the mod's reloading mechanic, it just straight up looks like a different pistol. I don't know, maybe it's a perspective thing, but come on, that looks weird. Pistol aside, I do like the new designs. And hell, there is even a new weapon this time around. The SMG. What's there really to say about this? It's fast, deals out moderate damage, but makes up for it with a super speedy firing rate and quick reload. And it very quickly became my go-to weapon during my playthrough of Brutal Doom. There is also the assault rifle. In fact, it's one of the weapons you can choose to start the game off with, though I'm not the biggest fan of the gun. The fire rate is a bit too slow for my liking, and I don't know, it's smelly. Not really my favorite, but its inclusion is still appreciated. Not to mention, it's the first gun you'll watch perform 2 things I'm guessing the Doom community found controversial: iron sight aiming and reloading. Meanwhile, I don't really care. I have the same opinions on ADS in the modern Halo games. If you don't like it, just don't use them. I don't know, I see no problem with it. Reloading is a bit more iffy, as especially with the demon's more aggressive attack patterns, it can really leave you in a bad situation. Although this is still a subjective take. Feel free to argue or disagree with me in the comments. Can't deny the fact that aiming down sights with a shotgun feels more cursed than anything I've seen in Cursed Doom. The monsters in Brutal Doom haven't received any redesigns, but there is no doubt about the fact that they've been changed under the hood. All the demons attack more often, projectiles do additional damage, and as if that wasn't bad enough, they have new attacks. For example, imps will no longer only try to throw balls at you. Now, they'll literally leap out and rip you to pieces. Honestly, this is a great change that I love. I don't know why they didn't have a melee attack in the original game, but then again, this mod came out in 2010. Hindsight is an awful thing. Actually, there is something else that I noticed about the demons in Brutal Doom, a feature that is actually included in the base game, but one I rarely noticed during my playtime. Demon infighting. If at any point one demon accidentally takes a chunk out of their pal, the gloves come off and the two Hellspawn fight to the death, usually giving you a second to either save some ammo or run away while the enemies are distracted. Now, they can either simply shoot each other, but if you piss off a Pinky, he will literally consume you! Jesus Christ! But my favorite example is when a zombie soldier managed to kill me, and then proceeded to unload his entire mag into my limp, lifeless body, reload, and then do it again. But one of his homeboys got a little too close and took a shot. He then murdered the first zombie and continued the cycle of violence. Good mod, go play it. Here we are, folks, the end of the road. We've seen simple map packs, projects with enough new content to be considered their own fan games, and even modifications that allow us to experience these classic shooters in new ways. But we've reached the end of our journey. Welcome to the Total Conversion mods. For this section of the video, I've decided to lump Total Chaos and Blades of Agony together, mostly because I feel like I'm doing these particular mods a disservice by only playing an hour of each. Total Conversion mods, as I've said countless times before in this video, are practically their own games. Complicated game mechanics, further story progression, and hours upon hours of gameplay to share with us. However, given the shocking amount of content I have to go over in this video, I've elected to give them the same first impressions template as the other mods. But please do not mistake that choice as a dismissal of these games. If at any point during the following you think it's worth playing, please head over to ModDB and give them a shot. Anyway, I think it's about time we take a trip to a forgotten paradise. Your eyes may be going out, so for God's sake, clean your smudgy glasses. Actually, I should do the same. But this is still running in the GZ Doom engine. This is the mod that inspired me to make this video alongside Brutal Doom. No matter who you are, or what you think about survival horror games, you cannot deny that making this from an engine used to produce games like this isn't at the very least technically impressive. Total Chaos is a total conversion mod made for the GZ Doom engine, developed by a guy named Wadaholic. It would take a dev with a name which is a fun play on the word workaholic to make a Doom mod like this. It's a survival horror experience with tight, claustrophobic corridors, horrifying monsters, and a heavy emphasis on crafting items and melee combat. This mod is relatively old, but not when compared to the others. It had its first release in 2016, before the final version of the mod was dropped in 2018. Why am I considering something as recent as 2018? Well, because, at least for the general public, this mod completely slipped under our radar. Despite the game calling back to the early days of YouTube Let's Plays, none of the big guys in the genre picked up the game.
I would not mind posting tasteful nudes of myself.
And as such, it was praised, as it should be, by the Doom modding community alone. This incredibly ambitious project deserved far more recognition, and luckily in 2022, it would get just that thanks to a very specific YouTuber.
Immigration has ruined Britain.
Yep, that's right. The guy dating the girl who draws fat, furry fetish art is also the one who introduced me to this wonderful piece of horror. Jokes aside, Pyrocynical's video on this game is far more in-depth and way more well-produced than anything you'll see in this video. So if you're looking for a deep dive into Total Chaos, you should all watch this video. Wow, a channel with 500 subscribers is telling you to watch a video from a YouTuber with over 3 million subscribers. This takes preaching to the choir to a whole new level. Also, yeah, I'm not really covering Total Chaos in this video, I baited you,
Anybody else who likes pot, reach for my joint.
Blade of Agony is a massively, though not as impressive as Total Chaos, total conversion mod for Doom 2. And as I'll get into later, this mod might as well be considered a lost Wolfenstein game. The production value is through the roof, all the model work, textures, and audio design is top notch, and as if I didn't have any more ground to stand on for this being a standalone game, I didn't even launch this one from the GZ Doom application. It has its own .exe file to play the game. On that note, having an opening cinematic in your mod is a big plus for me, as it's a sign of confidence and tremendous faith in your project, and this game has two of them. The first one is a simple pan through a soldier's window with a letter he was writing slowly scrolling past the screen. The writing is pretty decent, but I feel like it goes on for a bit too long. It doesn't help that we get another cutscene immediately after, one that would have better served the role of opening set piece. In it, the camera pans through a forest while newspapers flash by the screen, showcasing the desperate state of the world as the war progresses in Germany's favor. It's presented well, conveys the state of affairs nicely, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. I can understand and appreciate the ambition of trying to tell a more character-driven story, and it definitely helps add some much-needed depth to the characters in the mod. But I feel like these two should have been swapped out, or maybe combined? Either way, it's not a huge deal, and I'm definitely just nitpicking. You play as BJ Blazkowicz, the protagonist from the other Wolfenstein games. Well, I mean the good ones anyway. Being redeployed after receiving a letter from a soldier he once served with, in a desperate attempt to ease the burden on the Allies in Europe. The German forces are relentless in making rapid progress in their campaign. It's up to you to run special operations and uncover the truth behind the Nazi war machine. When it comes to the base gameplay, say it with me now, it's fast, frantic, gory, and always incredibly fun with the perfect amount of first-person shooting experience. Though this game does encourage a more tactical style of play. The game makes it a point to tell you to stick behind covers to avoid being filled with bullet holes. You're also given a combat knife to silently take out enemy combatants. Though the stealth system definitely needs more work and it hardly ever worked for me. Oh, and this one killed me the most. Landmines!
Landmines! It was landmines.
Yep, from time to time you'll find minefields which demand you slow your roll and focus on avoiding becoming a plant versus zombie. Though with the first two missions under my belt, the most efficient and fun way to complete your tasks is to run through the mission, murdering every single Nazi you come across. And dogs. You unfortunately end up murking a lot of poor Mein Kampf reading doggies, using all the weapons you associate with this time period. The Walter, MP40, and the Gruer, which is greatly underrated in my opinion. They all feel great, and aside from killing, you've also got a hub world that you return to in between missions. Here you can either complete small quests for NPCs, buy better equipment at the armory, and even flirt with a French woman who has her accent typed out in her dialogue. Or get body blocked once again because one of these goofy NPCs gets stuck in the damn door. Cornelius, get the cotton out of your ears and take 2 more steps! Or you could watch this guy piss. Badly. But in all seriousness, the hub world is an amazing add-on. It features tons of immersion value, the production value is through the roof, and honestly, it just helps the game feel more different, and I really appreciate it. This mod is fantastic. It's one of my favorite Wolfenstein games of all time now. You should play it. The Doom modding community is one of the most talented in all of gaming. Being able to produce such well-made pieces of playable mayhem, consistently, and also with a certain air of polish to them. If you boot up any Doom WAD or PK3 file, chances are at the very least, you'll get an experience with tons of fast-paced, tense demon-killing gameplay. And I hardly touched the surface with this video. I only went and tackled a few of the games I thought were interesting. Even then, I had to cut back on what I showcased because I do not have the storage to add another hour of 3 mods to this already 40+ minute long video. There are way more mods that feel completely unrelated to the classic they stem from. For example, take a look at this. This is a mod called Sonic Roboblast 2. Looks pretty cool, right? Kinda like a more open-ended classic Sonic experience. So now you might be wondering, why did I not include this game in the video? Well, it's because this mod has its own mods!